Major League Baseball makes me smile. I loved being a part of the industry. I love that part of my career. I love this part way more. I love being with all of you every day. You may think I'm a cynical bastard, but I'm not. I'm a regular, ordinary, nice guy. My pants go on one leg at a time. Sometimes I trip and fall when I try to do it two legs at a time. I do sit down to pee, though, because I can't stand the thought of cleaning up any sort of drippage. But there's one thing that you should know about me, that when I talk about things that are going on in baseball, you're not hearing them anywhere else because no one else wants to tell you this, but they really are true. MLB released a report yesterday, and they're calling it the pitching report, the report on pitching. I've got four letters for you. GMAB. Give me a break. Major League Baseball studied. They spoke to trainers. They spoke to doctors. They spoke to players. They spoke to owners. They spoke to GMs. They spoke to your average man on the street. They spoke to anyone involved in amateur baseball, youth baseball, college baseball, professional baseball. They paid so much money to do a report on pitching and injuries. And when I tell you the takeaways from this report, I am going to ask that during the course of this next segment that you refrain from laughing, smiling, rolling your eyes, picking your fingernails, or in any way doing anything physically that would manifest disgust, shock, surprise, or awe. I would like you to sit there as you're doing your work or watching or listening to the show live on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, and I'd like you to be straight-faced, look ahead, and hear me now and listen to me later. When pitchers try to throw hard, they're going to get hurt. No way. No way that was the conclusion. Can't be. Many years ago, when I first got into baseball, there was something called the Blue Ribbon Report. If you don't know what it is, Google it. They got four brilliant, brilliant men to do the Blue Ribbon Report. George Will, Rick Levin, former president of Yale, George Mitchell. The Blue Ribbon Report was not written by the people. The Blue Ribbon Report was not written by the people on the Blue Ribbon panel. The Blue Ribbon Report was written by Major League Baseball to have the conclusion that they wanted about steroids in the game, and that would exonerate those who needed to be exonerated, that would have no absolute possible paper trail toward anything nefarious going on, but would list some names that would remain confidential, though they never did. What would be the incentive for having a report on pitching that would give you a takeaway that people are chasing velocity, that we have problems going all the way back to youth, and that we need starting pitchers to both train better, not be in the weight room as much, do some cardio training, and please come to spring training in better shape, and then have your arm built up so that you won't get hurt, and then get paid for not pitching? Golly, I can't even fathom why that would be the results of the baseball report on pitching. It took them a year, 1 year, to tell us what they told us they were going to tell us, because they've told us what is the truth, which is when pitchers are getting hurt, it is because an arm can't throw 100 miles an hour on a consistent basis without it falling out or your ligament going poof in the night. It is not natural. It's not like, oh, a three-point stroke. If you take 23 pointers in a game and you put your wrist forward in the follow-through, eventually every tendon in your wrist is going to break. It's going to like split from your hand, and you're going to be broken, and you're going to get paid not to play. Nope, not exactly true. It may look ugly. You may lay more brick than Rock Hudson, but at the end of the day, you're okay. Baseball, it's not the case. It is not normal in any way to throw a ball, but here's the problem that's not addressed in the 62-page year-long report. The only way to fix pitcher injuries is to not pay them for not playing, or in the alternative, not pay them through arbitration or free agency for stats that are based on velocity, or in the alternative, to actually have a demerit, a reduction, a negative for not going deep into games as a starter, for not being able to pitch back to back, for not having an arm that works because you don't care if your arm works because you're in the bullpen the first day of spring training throwing 97 because you think the GM and the president are going to look at you and say, "Ooh, look at that gas." Like Coach Lou Brown, the manager of the major league team, forget the curveball. Show him the heater. It's what we all tell the players. What we tell them is, you don't have to show us on the first day of spring training that you can throw 99, but if you happen to throw 89, we're going to release you. We are so inconsistent with the messaging that we give to major league pitchers because we pretend we care about their health and that we're not going to comment on their velocity. We're going to let them work themselves up. We're going to let them build themselves up. But if they're not long-term contract holders of a team and they're just minor league invites to spring training, we don't care if they get hurt. We just release them. We've got to change everything about the system of how we both evaluate and put our team together. We have to change the entire way in which we pay players, because if we actually cared about pitchers getting hurt, which we only care about the pitchers signed to long-term deals that are getting hurt, we don't care about the other ones. So the study rightfully should have been how to stop owners from giving pitchers long-term contracts. That would have been a 69-page essay that would have had every single long-term contract by a pitcher and how the expected value and return of that contract you were going to lose every single time. You have one pitcher pitching 1 year and throwing as hard as he can for as long as he can, and then he's hurt. See you later. It's a cost of doing business. Bring on the next guy. But when we have to announce every single spring training, this guy's out for Tommy John, this guy's out for Tommy John, and pitchers are like, they're no longer despondent to have Tommy John. They're being paid, their arm's in a brace the next day, and they're throwing from the mound a few months later, ready to rock and roll. We can come back in 8 months if we're a reliever. Everybody's a reliever now. Except with starters, you have to hold them back even further because you have an investment into them long term. I've got a new study that I'm going to do, and it's not going to take a year. It's the study of the money that's going to the players in baseball.